Reasons not to worry what others think. Have you ever found yourself worried about what others think of you? How often has that influenced your decisions and well-being? You don't have to meet the expectations others have of what you should achieve. I don't have to be as they expect me to be either. The mistake is theirs, not a fault of mine. It's reasonable to consider others' opinions to some extent, as there may be valuable insights in them. However, paying excessive attention to these opinions, to the point of spending hours upon hours, dwelling on what people might think, can leave us in anguish. It's not only potentially harmful, but also unnecessary. This video explains why, based on various concepts from psychology and philosophy. This video will show that living according to your own expectations is the key to a happier and more authentic life. First concept: you're giving away your power. When we talk about giving away your power, we're really discussing a quite common yet profoundly significant contemporary phenomenon. Have you noticed how often our serenity and self-esteem seem to be in the hands of others? This mostly happens through the constant pursuit of external validation, a habit that often creeps into our lives without us realizing it. In today's world, driven by social media, this quest for validation has become almost reflexive. How many times have you checked your phone today to see how many likes or comments you've received on a post? Each notification is like a little dopamine boost, a sign that we are being seen and, in a way, valued. But here arises a crucial question. What do we really gain when we let external judgment define our worth? This dependency can quickly turn into an addiction. Yes, an addiction. Just like alcohol or any other mood-altering substance, external validation can become something we incessantly seek to feel complete or happy. And like any addiction, this one too has its price. It can erode our ability to find internal and authentic satisfaction, leaving us in a vicious cycle of need and frustration. Consider Clara's story, a talented professional who constantly felt insecure about her abilities unless explicitly praised by her colleagues or superiors. Her dependency on external approval not only affected her emotional well-being, but also limited her ability to make bold career decisions. When she began to focus on recognizing and celebrating her own achievements, regardless of external applause, Clara discovered a new form of freedom. She became more innovative, confident, and surprisingly, more respected in her field. So how can we begin to reclaim our power? Firstly, it's crucial to acknowledge the situation. Observe and question the weight you give to others' opinions. Then start cultivating an internal source of validation. Ask yourself, am I satisfied with who I am and what I do? This question can be a powerful starting point for a journey of self-discovery and self-acceptance. Additionally, seek more authentic and meaningful connections. Instead of focusing on how many friends we have online, how about investing in deep and personal friendships? Those relationships that challenge us, support us, and accept us without the need for constant external validation are truly enriching. So, I invite you to reflect. What steps can you take today to start depending less on others' approval and more on your own? Remember, each step taken in this direction is not just an act of self-love, but also a way to reclaim your personal power. It's a challenging path, but incredibly rewarding. Let's embark on this journey together. Concept 2. It's beyond your control. What if I told you that many of our daily frustrations arise because we're trying to control things that, in reality, are beyond our reach? Epictetus, a wise Stoic, once said, "Some things are in our control and others not. In our control are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and in a word, whatever is our own action. Not in our control are body, property, reputation, command, and in one word, whatever are not our own actions." This perspective leads us to an extremely powerful concept called the trichotomy of control. This concept helps us distinguish between what is under our control, what isn't, and what we can influence in some way. Firstly, let's consider what is entirely under our control. This includes our own actions, reactions, and decisions. For example, you decide how to respond to an email, what to have for lunch, or whether to exercise after work. These are direct choices that directly influence our lives and well-being. In contrast, there are things that are completely beyond our control. Think about others' opinions, the weather, or who wins a soccer game. No matter how much we wish to influence these outcomes, they are beyond our direct command. Trying to control these aspects can lead us to a constant state of tension and disappointment. However, there's also an intermediate zone, where we don't have total control but can exert some influence. This is where the ability to impact others' opinions and actions comes in, not through direct control, but through our own conduct, communication, and persuasion. For example, while we can't control what our boss thinks of us, we can influence their perception through our performance at work and our professional interaction. Now, imagine how liberating it would be to internalize this trichotomy of control. Instead of expending energy worrying about aspects we can't change, we can focus on what is within our reach. This approach not only relieves stress, but also empowers us to act more effectively. To illustrate, let's consider Joao's story, an entrepreneur who was always anxious because of the criticism he received online. When he understood the trichotomy of control, he realized that he couldn't control what others thought or said about him, but he could influence the public's perception through exceptional customer service and transparent communication. This shift in focus not only improved his mental health, but also his company's reputation. Therefore, I encourage you to reflect. Which areas of your life are you trying to control unsuccessfully? Wouldn't it be more productive to channel your energy into areas where you can truly make a difference? By adjusting your focus in this way, you not only gain more peace of mind, but also become a more effective agent of change. So how about we start this journey of self-discovery and acceptance together, exploring what we can really control and where we can be positive influences. This will not only increase our sense of control over our lives, but also allow us to live with much less stress and more satisfaction. Third concept, it's a reflection of them, not you. Have you ever stopped to think that often the way people react to us says more about themselves than about us? This concept is deeply rooted in Carl Jung's theory of projection, one of the pillars of analytical psychology. Jung explored the idea that we tend to project our own emotions, desires, and insecurities onto other people, especially when we are not fully aware of these aspects within ourselves. Let's consider a common scenario. Imagine you share an idea at work and a colleague reacts negatively with harsh criticism. Your initial reaction might be defensive or even questioning your own worthiness of the idea. However, as Marco Aurelio reminds us, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Thus, we can begin to see that your colleague's reaction may be more related to their insecurities than to the quality of your proposal. This understanding offers us a new way to interpret and respond to others' attitudes. Instead of clinging or taking offense, we can use this insight to create a healthy emotional distance. By doing so, we not only protect our emotional well-being, but also gain a deeper understanding of the motives and behaviors of the people around us. Let's consider Anna's story, a therapist who often dealt with clients projecting their frustrations and expectations onto her. Initially, Anna felt overwhelmed and personally affected by these projections. However, by understanding Jung's concept, she began to see these reactions as valuable insights into her client's internal conflicts, not as assessments of her competence as a therapist. This shift in perspective not only relieved her stress, but also made her more effective in her work. So how can we apply this knowledge in our own lives? First, it's essential to develop robust self-awareness. The more aware we are of our own weaknesses and tendencies, the less likely we are to project them onto others. Additionally, by recognizing that people's reactions may be projections of their own, we can choose to respond more compassionately and less reactively. I encourage you to reflect. What recent situations in your life may have been shaped by projection? How can this understanding alter your way of interacting with others in the future? This is an invitation to look beyond the obvious, exploring not only how we respond to the world, but also how the world responds to us, often reflecting the internal conflicts of each individual. Now think about the freedom that comes with understanding that you don't need to carry the burden of others' projections. What steps can you take today to free yourself from these invisible chains and interact with others in a more authentic and tranquil manner? Number 4, you are not the center of the universe. As we delve into the depth of our being and the vastness of the world around us, we encounter a truth both humbling and liberating. We are not the center of the universe. This realization may seem daunting at first, but it carries with it an extraordinary release from the pressures we often place on ourselves. This concept confronts us with our own insignificance in the vastness of the cosmos. Imagine for a moment the vastness of the universe, with its galaxies, stars, and planets orbiting in a cosmic dance that precedes and will succeed our brief existence for ages. In this context, the daily dramas, concerns about what others think of us, or even our greatest triumphs and challenges, gain a new and diminutive perspective. However, as we confront our cosmic insignificance, we are also confronted by solipsism, a philosophical concept that suggests we can only be certain of the existence of our own mind. This idea, explored by philosophers from René Descartes to contemporary thinkers, challenges us to consider that our perception of the world is deeply personal and subjective. Now think about how these two ideas intertwine. On one hand, acknowledging our smallness in the universe can lead us to question the meaning of our actions and thoughts. On the other hand, solipsism can make us ponder the reality of everything we perceive. Perhaps everything we know and experience is, in fact, a reflection of our own consciousness. How does this apply to practical life? First, by accepting our smallness, we can find peace in knowing that many of the burdens we carry are smaller than they seem. This doesn't diminish our experiences or emotions, but offers a scale to put them into perspective. Second, by contemplating solipsism, we are invited to deeply value our individual experience and to seek to understand others' reality, recognizing that, like us, they are the centers of their own subjective universes. Let's consider Louisa's story, a scientist who, while studying the stars, realized how tiny each human being is compared to the universe. This realization not only altered her view of her own life, but also made her more patient and understanding of other people's perspectives. Recognizing that each of us lives in a perceived reality that is profoundly unique. Thus, by realizing that we are not the center of the universe, and by reflecting on solipsism, we are encouraged to live with more humility and empathy. This empowers us to interact with others, not as figures within our own narrative, but as complex and complete individuals, each with their own internal universe to explore. So how about facing today with the awareness that we are just a small point within a vast cosmic tapestry, and yet within our own minds we are capable of creating entire worlds? How can this perspective change the way you live, work, and relate to others? Concept 5. This destroys authenticity. Authenticity is a treasure that once lost can be difficult to regain. However, in a society where herd mentality and conformity prevail, staying true to one's own values and beliefs can seem not only challenging, but sometimes almost impossible. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most provocative philosophers of the 19th century, vigorously criticized this tendency toward conformity through his ideas about the morality of master and slave. arguing that it suffocates true individuality and authenticity. According to Nietzsche, there are two types of morality: the morality of masters, which values nobility, strength, and independence, and the morality of slaves, which values humility, submission, and conformity. Nietzsche believed that modern society was dominated by the morality of slaves, which promoted conformity at the expense of individual authenticity. In this context, Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, reminds us that it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This Stoic perspective encourages us to maintain our authentic values in the face of external pressures, choosing to react in a way that is aligned with our true nature and not simply conforming to others' expectations. Imagine how often we find ourselves shaping our opinions, behaviors, and even dreams based on what is acceptable or expected by the group. How many times have you set aside a passion, an opinion, or a personal style simply because it did not align with the norms of your social or professional circle? Instead of conforming, Epictetus encourages us to choose a response that reflects our authenticity, even if it means disagreeing with the group. Now think about the great innovators, artists, and leaders throughout history. Many of them were initially rejected or criticized for their unconventional ideas or lifestyles. However, it was precisely this authenticity and courage to stand out that allowed them to transform societies and create works that stand the test of time. These individuals exemplify the morality of masters, valuing authenticity over approval and innovation over imitation. Here is a call to action for each of us. How can we cultivate our own morality of masters? How can we create spaces in our lives for authentic expression, even if it means, at times, disagreeing with the group? It is not an easy path, but it is extremely rewarding. By doing so, we not only honor ourselves, but also enrich our environment with new ideas and perspectives. True authenticity requires courage. It requires a willingness to stand out and, perhaps more importantly, a willingness to be vulnerable. It is in this vulnerability that we find our deepest strength and our most significant contribution to the world. So as you walk through life, ask yourself, am I following the morality of masters or slaves? Am I living authentically according to my deepest values, or am I conforming to others' expectations? Remember, every moment of choice is an opportunity to reaffirm who you really are. Concept 6. Life is too short. Have you ever reflected on how much time we spend worrying about what others think of us? A revealing study shows that Britons spend, on average, about 2.5 years of their lives just worrying about others' opinions. This data makes us question, are we really living our lives to the fullest, or are we just surviving hostages to others' expectations? Seneca, a wise Stoic, warns us about this waste. It is not that we have little time, but that we waste much. Life is long enough, and it has been given in sufficient measure to accomplish the greatest things if we spend it well. Every minute we spend absorbed in concerns about how we are perceived is a minute that we are not living fully. Think about the things you could be doing with that time: learning a new skill, enjoying moments with loved ones, exploring the world around you, or simply experiencing moments of peace and contentment. But why do we worry so much about what others think? Much of this anxiety comes from an intrinsic need for social acceptance, a legacy from our ancestors for whom belonging to a group was a matter of survival. However, in modern times, this concern may have become excessive, even paralyzing. It is crucial, then, that we make a conscious effort to release this burden. How? Firstly, by acknowledging that others' opinions of us are, in fact, just that. Opinions. They are subjective, variable, and, most importantly, beyond our control. What we can control, however, are our own actions, reactions, and decisions about how we want to live. Imagine if, instead of spending 2 years worrying, you dedicated that time to engaging in activities that truly reflect your values and passions. The transformation would be remarkable. You would not only feel more fulfilled, but also become an example of living authentically for those around you. Let me share an inspiring story. Clara, a friend of mine, realized in her 40s that she had spent too much time worrying about others' judgment. She decided that every time she caught herself worrying about it, she would do something she truly enjoyed, like painting or walking in nature. This simple act of redirecting her mental energy transformed her life. She not only became happier and more productive, but also inspired her friends and family to reassess how they were spending their own emotional and physical time. So, how about we consider together, what changes can you start making today to reduce the time spent worrying about others' opinions? How can you redirect this time to activities that enrich your life and reflect who you truly are? Remember, life is precious and fleeting. Let's make it count, not through others' eyes, but through our own. 7th concept, knowing yourself better. Reflecting on how much we truly know ourselves is essential to recognize that, despite others being able to offer valuable insights and diverse perspectives, ultimately, no one has such intimate and profound access to our thoughts and feelings as ourselves. Carl Jung, one of the great theorists of psychology, offers us a powerful tool to understand this internal dynamic, the division of the psyche into parts such as the persona and the ego. The persona is the social mask we wear. It is the part of us that we present to the world. It adapts to social expectations and norms, functioning as a mediator between our internal self and the external environment. On the other hand, the ego represents our conscious sense of identity, the self that perceives, thinks, and feels. While the persona is the outward-facing part of us, the ego is more related to our internal and personal experience. This concept by Jung suggests that, although we may value and consider external perceptions, we should always return to our ego, our center, for a true understanding of who we are. After all, we are the ones who experience our most intimate emotions, dreams, and thoughts. This journey of self-discovery is therefore deeply personal and cannot be fully accessed or understood by another person. Consider, for example, when we receive advice. It can be helpful and enriching, but it should be filtered and evaluated in light of our own understanding and experience. Knowing how to discern which advice truly resonates with our inner being is a crucial skill, as it reinforces our autonomy and respects our individuality. Therefore, it is essential to cultivate a space for self-awareness and introspection. Practices such as meditation, reflective writing, or therapy can be extremely useful for exploring the depths of our psyche and better understanding our own motivations and reactions. By doing so, we not only become more self-aware, but also increase our ability to live authentically and in alignment with our deepest values. So how can we apply this understanding in our daily lives? Whenever confronted with external opinions or advice, we can ask ourselves, does this truly align with who I am and what I value? This simple question can help us maintain the integrity of our own path, ensuring that the choices we make are truly ours and not merely a reflection of others' expectations. In conclusion, while it is valuable to listen to and consider the perspectives of others, we should never forget that the ultimate authority over our lives and choices resides within us. We know ourselves better, and by recognizing this, we can live more fully and authentically. We have reached the end of this journey on the importance of not being preoccupied with others' opinions. Each concept discussed today helps us understand that true happiness and authenticity come from within. So, why not start applying these ideas today? And stay tuned, because in the next video we will explore how to further strengthen our self-esteem and live more freely. Until then, remember, you are the only person who truly knows your worth.